Thank you, Sana, for coming on board. This is KBC, and I'm glad you're on my hot seat.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so Karen, I feel like you weren't really a household name when it came to rallying, and then you just came in and caused this huge stir, and everybody was like, who is this guy? So tell us, your passion for rallying, how did it, spark? Where did it start? And tell us a bit about the initial stages of what got you to rally.
Yeah, well, I didn't know I was a household name. I mean, I hope to be one someday, but we're getting there.
You are. I feel like you really are at the moment.
Yeah, we're trying. Targeting all the youngsters and encouraging a lot of, growth in the sport, yeah, for me it started, let's say, with two wheels, not exactly on four wheels in a rally car. I started racing bikes. We had, I had a day out with one of my dad's friends, and I went out to ride, and he invited us, and I rode his son's bike, so I rode someone else's motorbike, and from there I developed this real keenness to speed and a bit of a thrill and being on the edge of falling off a bike and staying on, and yeah, with a bit of talent and a bit of support from my dad, that's how I started into motorsports. So showing interest on a motorbike, and then being actually quite good on bikes, and then getting traction, getting a racing bike, and then getting into racing, and eventually a few years down the line being named the East African motocross champion in the category of bikes that I was riding. Mm-hmm. And then we prioritized education. My mom basically made that a strong point, which is to prioritize education, which I'm very thankful for. So we stopped riding bikes, went off to O levels, A levels, university, thankfully, and then when I was at uni, my dad was invited to rally again as a veteran, as a co-driver. So he started, wow. Yeah. So he started rallying again with his best friend, and then I felt a bit jealous, left out, and I put my point across to him that I would like an opportunity. So yeah, we started rallying. Then as soon as I got back, he said, finish your studies, come back, get a job. Yeah. That's exactly what I did. And then thankfully, where I worked, I was allowed to take a lot of unpaid leave days to race, and the company I worked for was very encouraging in that they supported me to be able to take the time off to race. So it's just been, by the grace of God, everything has been in place for me to get to where I am today.
Amazing, mm-hmm. Amazing. So Karen, back in 2016, as I said, how was that experience for you? You went to other countries to rally, to race, and that was probably an eye-opener. And I'm sure the exposure that you got there was maybe a bit of an overwhelming experience at first. Here in Kenya, I don't think you have that caliber of racing, or more like, maybe I feel like the sponsorship and the funds is something that the Kenyan drivers lack. So when you went there and you saw the cars and you saw the teams that are in place and the pit crews, then how was that experience?
For sure, it's an eye-opening experience for all of us. My mom was busy getting selfies with all the top rally drivers.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so she was very excited on that front. I'm sure my dad was quite shocked at how much it goes into the sport as a whole. Mm-hmm. For us, before any rally, we do a recce, which is a reconnaissance. So we're always checking the route with normal cars. So yeah. In WRC events, my dad and his partner and the team were following me around recce in case my recce car breaks down, because then in a WRC event you can't afford not to finish recce, because then you have a very low chance of competing and being at a good pace to end up in a good position. So a lot of additional expenses and a lot of eye-opening experiences, but for me mainly the main thing that I can take away from all that is the fact that it changed my lifestyle, in that now I'm a constant gym goer only because I want to be the best in the sport that I love the most.
Yeah, we hear you wake up at 5 a.m. every day.
Yeah, actually I'll correct you on that. I wake up at 4.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm always at the gym by 5.
Wow.
But now it's a habit. It's like I've been doing it since 2016 when I realized that my fitness has a big role to play.
Your performance.
Yes, so because in WRC events we're able to compare our times inside one stage. You're allowed, like you can see your times in 4 different stages of the particular stage, let's say section. So I could notice that I'm consistently slowing down over one stage of maybe 15 or 30 kilometers.
Because of fatigue.
Because of fatigue, because the car certainly wasn't getting slower, and it's not like it was raining or anything.
Yeah.
So you definitely, it was down to fatigue. And so as I can see, my dad is consistently investing in me and in the sport. I obviously had to do my part to make sure I can also invest in myself as much as I can to make sure that I can be the best version of myself to then get to where we are today, thankfully. So, yeah.
So of course, I mean, fitness plays an important part in your performance as well.
Yeah.
And have you seen a difference in your performance over the years now that you're more active? You know, you're waking up at 4 a.m., which I don't know how you do that, but kudos to you. That is quite something. And you're able to you're gymming, you know, you lead a very active lifestyle. So have you seen it improve your performance?
For sure, it's definitely a huge improvement when it comes to, let's say, you know, here we're on the equator in Kenya, so rallying here is quite tricky. We're always in very hot conditions.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you always have a very, you know, thick suit. You know, you're wearing innerwear, which is fireproof. On top of that,
protective gear.
Yeah, protective gear. So it's like extra hot in the car, and the fitness helps in that particular situation. So I find there's a lot of advantage on very hot rallies, on very hot days, because I can actually capitalize on the lack of performance that maybe a certain unfit driver might have. So during the latter stages of the day is when I actually tend to push a little harder, knowing that a lot of people are actually tired and they won't push as hard, and if they do, then the risk of mistakes is higher, because it's always the physical part of the body that starts to shut down in a race, and once that starts to happen, once you get physically tired, then your mental state deteriorates, and mentally you must be highly concentrated in a rally car to be able to perform at a peak level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karan, tell me more about your routine, like in your day-to-day lifestyle. You wake up, you said you wake up at 4. Like, how does your day go? And when you're in preparation for a rally, so the day before the rally, how does that go? The recce, take us through your days.
Well, when I'm not rallying, it's like you say, wake up early, in the gym, straight to work after that. I run my own company, so I'm very passionate about it. I don't skip a day of work, because half the time I'm not there as I'm taking part in rallies. So it's very important to me that when I'm not at rallying, I'm at work, and it's something I really take a big interest in is my company. So yes, when there are rallies, it's also important that I stop gymming for a while, allow my body to recover, allow myself to get good night's rest. If I don't feel I need it, then yes, I will hit the gym the day before a rally, but most of the times I don't. Tend to carb load, now gain like some good carbs, slow release carbs, and yeah, so the day of the rally, it's like obviously the day before the rally we do our recce.
Okay.
So the recce involves us driving the rally route to, number one, make notes, and then we are allowed to recce the same route again to check our notes. So it's like a lot of driving at relatively low speed is involved the day before a rally to go and write your notes, and then build a kind of a book which allows you to then race on the same road the next day. So there's a lot of driving, a lot of mental draining, mental demand, especially because you're driving, you have to tell your co-driver what to write down, so he's writing his notes, so he's also focused, he's concentrating. Sometimes he might feel sick because he's looking down so much. So it's draining for both of us, recce, and then definitely a good night's rest is required before the race the next day.
How was the experience this year? And if you were to compare it to last year, maybe you can take us through the 2 safari rallies that you've taken part in, and how was that entire experience, knowing that, you know, Kenya's rooting for you?
Yeah, it's our first safari in 2021 was definitely more successful than our 2022
Yes.
outing, only because in 2022 we had a few breakages of the car, and not necessarily due to any fault of mine. I would say metal fatigue. It's funny because my business is oriented around inspecting materials for stress and preventing failure. But yeah, so it's funny it happened to me. But so 2022 wasn't great. We didn't get to finish the safari actually. But 2021 was really good. I mean, very, very surprising result. I'm sure we shocked quite a few people with a top 10 finish.
Yeah.
And we were hoping for an even stronger finish. Obviously, it would have been harder to have a stronger finish this year because everyone all the international drivers were much more conversant with what to expect this time round.
And the second time in a row.
Yeah, and they know the stages, you know, like WRC events are always quite similar. It's only a rule to have 25% of the stages have to be new.
Oh,
the rest can be the same. So you find all WRC events are quite the same. It's just a few changes here and there every year.
Okay.
So yeah, not so good this year, but yeah, we'll come back stronger next year.
Okay. And how were you chosen as the Red Bull, as an official Red Bull athlete? How does that work? Do they come to you? Do you have to apply for it? What is the process behind being named a Red Bull athlete?
So when I speak to my athlete manager, he mentioned to me that they've actually been watching me since I went to do the first WRC events in 2016.
Okay.
So again, it's not something I applied for, but if there was a way to apply for it, I definitely would have done that.
Yeah.
But no, it's not something I applied for. It's something I feel somebody and a team behind the scenes worked on and wanted obviously to bring this whole athlete vibe to the country and you know, use it as a way to also encourage youngsters into the world of Red Bull and what Red Bull is all about. So yeah, I didn't apply for it, but definitely I will cherish it for the rest of my life. It's something, as you said, it's something very big.
Yeah.
And not too many athletes in the world. I understand just under 1,000. So one of quite a few, one of few rather. So
especially here in Kenya.
Yeah, here in Kenya. So actually, there's 2 of us. There's a young lady who is an esports athlete.
Yes.
And esports is becoming
gaming,
somewhat
right?
of a, yes, it's gaming, and I understand it's going to be an Olympic sport next year. So, you know, Red Bull is always ahead of the game in that front. And then there's me as a rally athlete. So I think I'm the first rally athlete in Africa and also in Kenya.
Oh, that's amazing. So what does this mean for you as Karan Patel for the coming years? For you as a rally driver, does this mean more sponsorship? Does it mean more support financially? How does this change the game?
For sure, I think it will change the game. Being a Red Bull athlete is definitely something that a lot of corporates will appreciate, and also the Red Bull world is really already quite established, and they do have a lot of partners in their portfolio, so in their family rather, to let's say put in a bit of finance here and there to assist their athletes to grow. And the main aim of Red Bull is to make the athlete's dream come true. So my dream has always been to have a career in racing and you know, my job to be behind the wheel of a car. So hopefully my dream comes true.
Does this mean you get to travel and take part in international, you know, rally games?
Yeah, I would like to think so. I mean, definitely from what I understand, there is a lot of opportunity for that to happen. Maybe not just yet. I'm still young in the Red Bull family, so I don't want to push my way to that level too fast. You
have to work your way up.
Yeah, it's a lifetime relationship. It's a lifetime you know, athlete status, as long as you respect the rules and stay within, you know, the boundaries of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable as an athlete. So definitely I plan to stay within those boundaries and grow with Red Bull and hopefully have a lifetime partnership with them and take part in a lot of international rallies and races eventually.
Is it difficult to sustain a career as a rally driver here in Kenya?
Yes, I would say yes if you don't have the financial backing, because it's to get to even where I have got to today has taken a lot of financial input from my family, and it also takes a toll on family in that you are spending a lot of time racing. So if you are married, like for me, my wife has to deal with a lot of my absence, but hopefully now being a Red Bull athlete, you know, we hopefully will get to travel and she can come along and maybe, you know, have fun on the side and then come watch the event. So hopefully this is something we can both appreciate, but for sure it does take a toll on finances as well as time away from business. So you really have to know what you're doing, and you really have to, you know, for us it was considering, we were considering what our options are next year if we didn't get any financial backing, because it was kind of becoming a bit difficult to sustain at the level we are racing at. It's, you know, we have one of the best cars, we have one of the best teams, and to sustain all that is quite difficult. So yes, it's not easy, but if you have the talent and you have the backing and someone's there and to nurture you and back you in the talent, and you see, like, I've done everything I can to make sure I put my best foot forward, to make the most of the opportunity, and thankfully so far it's paid off.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Karan, what next for you? What are some of your dreams? What are some of the things that you hope to achieve in the coming few years as Karan Patel, the rally driver?
So I love to teach. So, you know, I want to eventually, for me, is to be one of the best drivers and represent the country and my country, Kenya. Take it to the World Rally Championship. Start small over there. Start in a lower category and start winning races, and, you know, gain traction in that respect. That there's a Kenyan out there who's really performing in the World Rally Championship, and hopefully then continue to race in our national events here in Kenya, continue to race in our African Rally Championship events, and continue to just, you know, be the best in the country, in the continent, and be the best Kenyan driver out there in the World Rally Championship. And you know, as long as I keep driving, that's the aim, is to just stay at the top and maintain. Obviously with rallying, well, it's not obvious, but rallying is such a sport that you only get better the more that you drive. So the more seat time I get, the better we'll get, and as long as you can keep on driving, you'll always consistently improve and learn from lessons. So you know, I can't say there'll never be any crashes, because we have to push the boundaries now. There'll be stiffer competition going out there, so it's like here we become maybe a bit complacent. So it's time to take the talent that I have so far and see how I can compare, how I fare to international drivers, and then probably I'll be finishing 5th out of 10 people or 4th out of 10 people. So it's how now, what do I need to do to get to number 1 out there?
Amazing, amazing. Do you know, it's interesting because I've been there for both rallies these past 2 years, and you probably can't hear anything, but being in the crowd, you know, if I were to tell you the cheering that you get when your car comes on and everyone goes crazy. So it's like you've already made such a name for yourself in such a short period of time. And how does it feel when you go out there and people come up to you and recognize you? Did you ever think that would happen? That was a possibility?
Well, it's an amazing feeling. As you can see, I'm you know, quite happy about it, and I actually cherish it. I appreciate it, and like I say, it's something people appreciate, and eventually I want to, you know, I love cars, I love teaching, I love people who want to learn. So eventually having a rally school will be something I wish to do.
Yeah.
We already have a good collection of rally cars. I mean, we've thankfully been able to keep all the cars from my first rally car to the second and now the third. So, you know, we've kept everything, and hopefully we can use those as a tool to have Kenya's first rally school, because I think there's not much available in our country in terms of facilities to be able to do that. Resources, yeah. So eventually, yes, to be able to teach, I need to show that I'm the best, so that people actually trust in what I'm saying and what I'm doing. And so that's the dream. It's, you know, let's go out there, let's try and win, and then bring it back home.
Who's your favorite rally driver of all time?
I don't really have one. I mean, you know, for me, it's when I first started rallying, I would say.
Somebody that you've watched and you really think that, you know, you look up to this person.
I always looked up to Baldev Chaga when I started, so I won't go international because I never really knew of them till I got into this world of rallying. So, you know, me and Baldy we have a very good relationship. We've had a very good relationship from the start. He's always been very open and shared all the advice he possibly can with me.
And he did really well this last rally.
Yeah, so, you know, he's a really good driver. He's come a long way. He's won a lot of events, and he's learned a lot of lessons along the way. So I feel I've taken a shortcut because he's taught me so much. So it's like it's helped me come up as fast as I have, because otherwise, without certain people in my life, without those people who are really willing to help and give positive and honest and good advice, then it may have taken me a little longer to get where I am today. Yeah.
Amazing. And lastly, as you know, we sign out, what message would you like to give, you know, younger people who want to get into the rally industry, who want to be rally drivers but just don't know where to start? Like, where do you begin? Any tips for them?
For me, I would say, you know, as a rally driver, it's also very important. People don't really understand, or may not understand this, but understanding the mechanics of a car is quite important. So for those of you that can fortunately afford to buy a rally car, I mean, you know, you spend maybe 2 million on a Subaru and get into the sport, get driving. You know, there's so many entry-level ways to get into racing, not just rally. There's autocross, there's rallycross, which is happening at Machakos People's Park tomorrow and Sunday. So there's that too. So there's a lot of movement in the motorsport scene in Kenya. So for those who can, it's like you don't have to actually do a full rally. Start with autocross or shorter events which cost less. You know, even I'm sure if people go watch the rallycross tomorrow, I understand Carl Tundo has bought a old taxi, a Toyota Corolla. He's just put a roll cage in it, and he'll be using that. So
interesting.
Yeah. So it's you know, it depends what your budget is, and then you just get in a car and you start racing. But if you don't have the budget to buy a car, then get into the mechanic side of it and be able to understand. And from there, maybe, you know, your chances of getting into behind the wheel of a car more you know, highly likely.
Amazing. And lastly, what would you like to tell your fans, people who are watching, people who've been supporting you these past few years? Any message for them? Definitely,
it's you know, thank you all for your support. It's been a hell of a ride so far for us, and without all of you, then it wouldn't have been as possible. It's very motivational to have everyone on board, and we look forward to not letting you down. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure hosting you. All the best in future, and all the best to you and your entire team. And keep making us proud as Kenya. You know, we're rooting for you, and we hope that you can keep getting to the top. And hopefully, as you said, one day open your school so you can teach generations to come, you know, what rallying is and how to be the best in rallying here in Kenya. So asante sana for coming to KBC Channel 1. And that is the end of our interview tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We'll do this again, same thing, next week, same time. Make sure you're tuned in. Until then, Cole Jacks will be entertaining you with the best mix of music, disco, funk coming up. Shiksha, Arora signing out. Good night.
Oh, no, no, no. A big class. The 006. Sherehe bila mama nsingewo. Sunajua wanatukoleza. tukinywa tunavopati na uhondo.